Alrighty, welcome to the channel Gorilla Gang, and welcome to another episode of Gorilla Reviews. So today is going to be a little bit, I guess you could say asked for heavily. And I'm going to start doing more of these review videos just because, you know, I'm outside doing this so often and I get so many comments, so many comments asking about articles of clothing that I recommend, boots that I recommend, pants that I recommend, etc., etc. So today we're just going to start off by doing boots. All right, so without wasting any more time, you are going to be hearing a lot of Salomon. Salomon's is my go-to boots. It is what I recommend the most, just because I have so many miles now on Salomon's and they just keep working. So because they keep working and because they're comfortable and because I can do so many miles in a pair of Salomon's and with a heavy amount of weight, and I don't have blisters afterwards, my feet aren't screaming. I'm not just like, oh God, just tear them off now so I don't have to feel it anymore, which I've experienced with quite a few boots. We're gonna be discussing other brands of boots as well, but this is gonna be mostly Salomon's. All right, so let's get off into it right off the bat. My favorite pair of boots that I have probably ever worn to date are these Salomon hiking, like they're like trail running shoes, and I'll put the exact nomenclature up on the screen. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even remember. Trying to get these in this shade of green was a huge pain in the ass. If you guys follow the channel at all, if you know, we really go hard on Ranger green just because of the fact that it works great in an urban environment and it works great out in the mountains, especially in the Pacific Northwest. So these trail running boots, I probably have, God, I need to actually start keeping track of miles. I really do. But I have done, let's see, 4 20-mile rucks in this already, and I'm rucking in these weekly as well, which is anywhere between, I'd say on average per week, I'm usually doing about, I don't know, roughly 10 miles or so, I'd say overall. So these are not only my rucking shoes, but I'm also using these as running shoes, which I'm actually getting at a point right now which I'm going to need to swap out the soles. When it comes to boots, your soles of your boots should be swapped out roughly every 6 months or so, or every, like, I don't know, I'd say about maybe like 100 to 200 miles. It really depends on what brand you're going for. I have found so far that the construction boot soles, not the gel ones, I hate the gel ones, but usually construction boot soles have been the best for me. I believe I'm still just running the factory sole. Yeah, I'm running the factory soles in these ones, but I have enough miles on this now that I probably should be swapping this out. So this is a summer boot. This is not by any stretch of the imagination a winter boot. This is such a summer boot that if you look closely, this is quite literally just mesh. With the right lighting, you can see through this. So this is for like maximum airflow, which that is my favorite part of this trail running shoe or boot, is that there is so much airflow in this that as long as I'm wearing wool socks, which you should be wearing wool socks, like if you're not wearing wool socks, what are you even doing? But what I love about this is that there's just so much airflow that my feet can breathe, and I love that. With a passion, and this will take me into my next boot. With a passion, do I loathe Gore-Tex boots. I hate Gore-Tex boots so much, but they work. They absolutely work, and they keep my boots, they keep my feet dry. Now, I went years on the civilian side, getting out of the military, and I went years of wearing the Columbia low tops, and they were not waterproof. I did, you know, snow training in it. I did rain training in it. It was, oh my God, who is blowing me up? Mute. Jesus. I did a lot of training in non-waterproof boots, and I can tell you from experience that just trying to suffer through it, just trying to, you know, be a man, that gets old. Oh my God, that gets old. Especially if you're trying to do like multi-day, if you're trying to actually move distance, yeah, non-waterproof boots are ass if you live in a wetter area. So these are the Quest 4D GTX Solomons. So these are the Gore-Tex boots. These are waterproof, and I did the last 20 miler in these boots, and we were going through, it was raining, it was snowing, we got to a couple points where we were in like 2 feet of snow, and my feetsies were all good and nice and dry. I did 20 miles, not a single blister, my feet were fine. And that's why I really enjoy Solomons. So, before I had the GTXs, I had the standard Quest 4Ds, not the GTXs. So what I did with this is I actually was taking waterproofing spray and I was going over the top of it, trying to do my best to keep that waterproof because I screwed up and bought the wrong pair. I meant to buy these and I accidentally bought these. So when it comes to waterproofing boots, and when it even comes to boots already being waterproofed and being Gore-Tex, something that you guys need to understand, something a lot of people don't understand, is that this isn't waterproof forever. Nothing in existence is waterproof forever. Nothing, not a single material. There is nothing in existence that is forever waterproof. Eventually, water's going to get through. Now that timeline, yeah, no, of course it's going to be vastly different. I mean, a house is going to take, you know, 100 years, whereas, you know, boots are probably going to take, you know, maybe a season. It really depends on how much you're rucking, how much exposure it's getting, how much dirt and grime and how much you're beating up those boots is going to depend on when you need to retreat it. But you still have to retreat it. It's not going to be waterproof forever, and that's the same with your wet weather coats, that's the same with your tarps, that's the same with your ponchos, it's the same with your boots. You have to be treating it regularly. So with trying to waterproof this, and I was using mostly the kiwi sprays, so I had to retreat that every single time that I went out and did any sort of rain training at all. Or if it was, you know, if you guys weren't aware, the Pacific Northwest on the western side is, well, it's mostly a rainforest. A lot of the forests that I'm training in are literally rainforests. It is, the torrential downpour is just something that we live in here in Washington. It was just pissing rain, and now it's fine because the weather here, or whoever's in control of the weather machine, is a very fickle person. Or what I like to believe is that they keep bringing their 5-year-old into the lab and he just keeps smashing that button so the weather's just all over the place. But that's besides the point. You need to be retreating your boots. So not only do I run Solomons, but my wife actually runs Solomons as well. These are also the GTXs, so her feet are nice and waterproof. She's actually come out and trained with us quite a few times. Let's see, that would have been last winter.
Oh, I saw that. Like walking in a winter wonderland.
One of our last rucks, she came out and did the 20 miler with us, and it's something you just love to see it. So Salomons are great boots. This is what I've been primarily running for the last, I don't know, roughly 2 years or so. Before that, I was running Columbia low tops. Now personally, my ankles are more prone to low tops. I enjoy low tops a lot more. When I'm running these full-sized high top boots, I actually don't buckle up these top ones at all, and I just stop right here. And that allows my ankles a lot more maneuverability. Some of you guys out there got weak ass ankles, and you need that support or you're gonna roll your shit. If you don't have experience hiking, if you don't have experience rucking, then you very well may roll your ankle, and now you are very potentially out of the fight. You are non-combat effective, and now someone else is gonna have to carry your ass. Realistically speaking, if you roll your ankle bad enough and you are working in a team environment, it is going to take, realistically, it's probably going to take at least a minimum of 2 guys out of the fight, which means you now have 3 guys out of the fight. And depending on how far you have to traverse, realistically, it's going to, those 2 guys that are now out of the fight, they're going to start getting tired. And then you're going to have to start rotating other guys out of the fight to carry your dumb ass because you couldn't take care of your own ankles. So if you have weak ankles or you are starting out and you have no experience in hiking, you have no experience in moving distance, I would probably go for the high tops and get that ankle support. And this is in no way, shape, or form am I trying to come at you guys like, you know, oh, I know so much, I'm such an experienced outdoorsman. This is just going off of the experience that I have, the miles that I've hiked, and what is working for me so far. So a couple of honorable mentions as well when it comes to hiking boots. Danners are also fantastic. I use Danners so much on active duty. The issue with Danners that I ran into though is that they wear out really quickly, and I was rotating out Danners like every couple of months, and that just gets old, especially, you know, if you're not using a quality pair of boots and they are comfortable while you have them. That kind of like refresh rate, right? Like, I'm not made of fucking money. You're not made of money. And I don't want to be buying boots every couple of months. That's just me. So I know a lot of guys are also rocking Loas. I've heard just unbelievably fantastic things about Loas as well. The biggest thing is that, you know, I have already been using these boots. They keep going strong. I mean, this one does have a hole in it, sure. Even with a hole in it, and, you know, since this is I guess a lightweight trail running shoe and it's meant to be, you know, mesh, it doesn't really affect anything, at least so far. Another honorable mention is Rockies. These are the C4 trainers. I don't know how many miles I have on this boot, man. I ran this boot for like, I want to say like 3 or 4 years on active duty. It got to a point where I actually started getting counseling statements because they phased out this type of leather, and they were saying that you needed cowhide now, and I kept running this for ruck marches, and they started getting mad at me. I actually took this to air assault school, and as you can see right here, it is missing a just fat section of the boot because when I was doing jumps, you know, as you can tell right there, that's where the rope was. Man, I've put some miles on these girls. I actually, this was also my go-to boot whenever we were doing boot runs, because these are still like probably the lightest shoe. I think these are actually, these might be lighter than this, honestly. These are the lightest shoe that I've ever run. Beyond this being, you know, looking like a militaristic boot, this is probably one of my favorite boots to date. So another thing that you need to take into consideration when you're hiking, when you're rucking and whatnot, is that how much weight are you carrying on your back? So how much weight that you are carrying is going to depend like heavily on how comfortable your feet is going to be, because you have to think about it, well, gravity, right? So the more weight that you have on your ruck, the more gravity is pushing down, or density if you're a flat earther. However much weight you have on your body is how much pressure is now going into this boot. Just, you know, logically thinking, right? However much weight you have on you, that's how much pressure is now going into this boot. So the crappier of a sole that you have inside of your shoe, the more your feet are going to be hurting, the more your feet are going to be screaming, and the more you are realistically going to start getting blisters. So not only that, but how you lace your boot directly correlates to how much blisters you're going to get, dependent on your foot size. So, you know, I'm usually a wide, right? So I use a 10.5 wide on pretty much every single boot that I have. Now I have tried bumping it up to size 11 instead of getting a 10.5 wide. And sometimes with some brands of boots that works. And then there's others that don't. So the issue is, and I'm just gonna be honest here, guys, the biggest issue when it comes to you choosing what boot is going to work best for you is just trying it, experience. Not every boot is going to work for every foot. Even though this is my favorite running shoe, this is my favorite hiking shoe as of right now for summer months, you might absolutely loathe this because we have different feet. It's just, we're not the same person. And this comes down to all gear. This comes down to quite literally everything of it's going to be shooter's preference, because we're not the same people. That's just how that works. That just makes sense once you actually start thinking about it. So if you are brand new, if you are just getting into this, you know, I would say that Salomon's are a great place to start, personally, but they might not work for you. If you are a hardcore baller on a budget, my recommendation is going to be hitting up outlet stores and trying out boots that are on clearance. So Columbia, I have had fantastic experience with Columbia boots, because they're on the lower end, they're a little bit cheaper. 511 boots as well, they are by no means the worst, because they are you can find them on clearance really easily, and then you can start getting a feel for what's comfortable for you. So if you are just starting out hiking, if you're just starting out rucking, my recommendation would be not to start with a heavy weight. Start with lighter weight, and then, so I would say start with about 25 to 35 pounds, depending on if you have any experience at all. So 25 to 35 pounds in a backpack, and start with 4 miles. See how comfortable it is, see how that feels, right? And then what I like to do is I like to rotate back and forth between doing more miles with less weight, and then doing less miles with more weight. And I like to fluctuate between those two, because you're going to get a different experience, you're going to get a different workout. You're going for a lot more fast-paced cardio when you're going lightweight, more miles, so you're gonna up the pace. So you're trying to go a little bit faster, you're trying to go for that speed, you're trying to go for that time. And then once you have more weight, then you're kicking her in 4 low, right? You're going a little bit slower. You're not trying to put as much pressure on those knees. You're not trying to put as much like maneuverability. You're going more for overall strength. And who's going to carry the beef? You know, you're trying to carry weight and slow and controlled. You're not trying to jerk around. You're not trying to do anything stupid. You're just trying to go to point A and then come back to point B. And once again, this is my recommendation. I bet you there are guys out there that have infinitely more experience on this topic than I do. I have been rucking and training in this fashion since 2010. And even before that, before I was rucking and doing more militaristic training, I grew up in the country. I grew up in the mountains. So I am also no stranger to hiking even before it was more militaristic. And hell, I think that I was just wearing like tennis shoes and sneakers before I got into the military, and that was pretty much it. So as far as military boots go, Bellevues and whatever the hell else, the militaries are, and there's military boots all across the world, man. There are hundreds of different types of boots out there. So this is another thing that you could get lost in this topic. You really could. I mean, you could start watching guys in Germany and what boots they're running, and then you go over and you check out what the Canadian military is running, and then you have let's see, Greece. I've heard that the Greeks have fantastic military boots as well. Let's see, the Italians, I've heard good things about their boots, and we're talking military issue boots now. Personally, the boots that I was issued in the Army, and I think that I actually have a pair sitting around somewhere. I still run these from time to time when I'm feeling silly, but they're just whacked. But yeah, there are so many different boots out there, guys. I can't even begin to express how many different brands and styles of boots there are. So my recommendation for you is pick something that's in your price bracket and try it. Just start trying new things and going out and actually hiking and actually walking. If you can find, also, I don't know if I would recommend buying used boots, because I mean, you could swap out the soles, sure. I am not a foot guy. My boots are my boots. I'm not gonna wear anyone else's shoes. And that's just a personal preference kind of thing. If you are okay buying used, pre-broken in boots, by all means, have at it. Oh, also another thing, break-in periods. Break-in periods are absolutely a thing with most boots, and there's some boots that straight up don't have a break-in period at all. That's probably going to come down to your soles. So what I used to do, and I don't really do this much anymore, at least with the Salomons. I've found that I don't have to. With the Salomon factory soles, I have found that I don't have to do this. But there are tutorials online of how to do it, of trying to get your soles pre-broken in, instead of taking the time and going out and rucking and rucking and rucking and hiking and walking and breaking in your boots. What some people will do is that they'll take their soles and they'll put them in the oven for like 5 to 15 minutes at about 300 degrees. And then that kind of like breaks down the material just ever so slightly. And then you're gonna put your soles back in your boots and you're going to wear it. And then what's gonna happen is it's a lot like a mouth guard when you boil a mouth guard and then you put it in your mouth and it sets to your teeth. So when you put your soles in the oven and then put them back in and then wear them, tighten them up how you would normally tighten it, it's going to set to your feet exactly how you want it. So with some brands, you don't have to do that. If you're wearing it, right, and it feels uncomfortable, something doesn't feel quite right, throw it in the oven for a couple of minutes. Don't go crazy with it. You need to be checking on it like constantly. Be careful about it because you could absolutely screw that up. Once again, you can absolutely screw that up, okay? But that is a trick to get around that break-in period with a lot of soles and with a lot of boots. Please don't put your entire boot in the oven and then just set it and forget it. Once again, this is something that you are heavily watching like a hawk. You are a kid at the candy store and you're just I really want to set that in and get that known. Another thing that you don't want to do is, and this is across the board, every single boot, no matter what, when you buy a brand new pair of boots, I am saying this from experience. When you buy a brand new pair of boots, no matter what, I don't care what brand it is, do not go ham in the paint and just grab that pair of boots, throw them on, and go do a 20 miler or a 30 miler, or hell, even a 12 miler, right? When you buy a brand new pair of boots, you want to be doing less miles. You want to break them in first, no matter what. And I know I just said that some don't have a break-in period, right? But the worst way that you can possibly find out that the break-in period is incorrect is by doing a 20 miler or something insane like that. I bought a pair of Columbia boots. Actually, I have multiple stories that I have kept having to relearn this lesson because I'm an idiot. So learn from me, please. But I have at least the two that pop up in my head. I did a 12 miler when I was on active duty in brand new cold weather boots. And guys, I had a time. Okay, so experience 2, and I actually visually cried on this one. I'm talking, I was sobbing. I was verbally like cursing and swearing and crying because of how excruciating the pain that I was in. So we did a 20 miler. I thought that if I bought half a size too small, that it wouldn't be a big deal. So once again, I'm normally running 10.5 wides. I bought 10 regulars. Without breaking them in, I decided to do a 20 miler.
All right, what's up, guys? I don't know why I said that these were Columbia boots that I was running. They were the Merrell Moab 2s. And apparently they already run like half a size too small. So essentially I was running a full size too small, and then they weren't the wides on top of that. It doesn't really matter that much that I'm correcting myself, but editor me was bugged by this. So back to the video.
And the majority of the ruck that we did was on cement. We had to use a different alternate route that we didn't originally plan. So I was wearing half a size too small. They were not wides, they were not broken in, and we were on cement. So if you guys know anything about rucking, hiking, what have you, hiking on cement is one of the most painful things that you can probably ever do. Now, rucking in sand also sucks, but it's doable. That's less pain on your feet, and that's gonna be more pain on your knees, your calves, and your ankles when you're doing snow and sand, and mud. At the end of that ruck, my feet, I think I had, it was something like 12 blisters. My feet were absolutely just mush. And they had like my toes, right, were just starting to mush inwards. If that was the only pair of boot that I had, and like, let's say shit had hit the fan, or if I was doing more than 20 milers, I probably would have just gone barefoot at that point. And that's another thing you have to take in consideration, is that if you are wearing absolutely fucked boots, if they do not fit you at all, once again, you are going to become a liability. You are out of the fight. Once your feet get to a certain point, and you can look throughout history, military history, right? Specifically Vietnam and World War II. Those two specifically, guys really found out how horrible life is once your feet get wet and they get raw. Trench foot is a thing. And men have died. Men have lost their feet. Trench foot is horrible. I've gotten close, like on the verge of getting there. Thankfully, I had the time to recover. I had the time to sit down, let my feet heal. That's another thing that I would like to get into about shoes, is that Crocs are your best friend. If you've watched any of my content, you will regularly see a lot of us. I would say the vast majority of guys that I'm training with, we are all running Crocs for once we get to camp, once we get bedded down, or we're just hanging out, we're relaxing, we're around the fire, you know, what have you. We're on our downtime, we're off fire watch shift, what have you. We're usually in Crocs. We're letting our feet breathe. Now, Crocs also need to be cleaned. You should still be wearing socks. Another thing with this, I'm sorry, I'm just like spouting out information. This might get boring for some of you guys, but I bet, the people that want the knowledge are still listening. But another thing with boots, depending on how much weight that I'm carrying, depending on how far that I'm going, I am usually swapping my socks about every 5 miles or so. And then I'm just rotating out socks. So when I go out in the hills, I'm usually bringing like 8 to 10 pairs of wool socks. And some guys might see that as excessive, right? And that's also going to depend heavily on how long you're gonna be in the field, what your mission is, what your goal is, what the weather is. That's a huge one. That is a huge one. Before you guys go out, check your weather. As simple as, because when I check the weather, right, that is going to depend on whether I'm wearing these boots or these boots. If I see absolutely no rain in the forecast whatsoever, and there's been no rain in the forecast, there's not going to be rain in the forecast for a little bit, then I'm probably going to run these boots. Now, if it rained recently, right, that means that all the foliage is still going to be wet. So if the foliage is still going to be wet and I know that I'm going to be breaking brush, I'm not going to be on main trails, then I'm still gonna rock my wet weather boots. Not only am I gonna rock my wet weather boots, but I'm running my Gore-Tex boots with gaiters. And that's another thing is gaiters are going to be massive as well for keeping your feet dry. Because what's gonna happen is, and the vast majority of the time, I'm not actually worried about the rain getting my feet and my socks wet. It's the foliage. Because as soon as you start breaking brush, the second that you start breaking brush and it is slightly damp out, oh dude, your feet are schwacked. As soon as you start breaking brush, man, like your feet, if you're not running gaiters, if you're not wearing wet weather pants, and you're wearing waterproof boots, your feet are drenched. And if you're the type of guy that you just straight up don't care, right? Or hell, maybe you don't have the money at all, then I'm probably, you know what? No, in general, if you're a baller on a budget and you can't afford the GTXs, right? You can't afford wet weather boots. My recommendation is either going to be buying regular boots and then, treating them every single time you get back from the field, or saving your fucking money and buying Gore-Tex boots. Personally, after how many miles that I have put on now, I would recommend going Gore-Tex boots. Also, Solomon's are made in Vietnam. Yeah, I know. But simple as those Vietnamese children really know how to make a boot, and you know what? I like supporting children. I don't know if that's the right take, but you know what? Yeah, I realize that they're not made in America, and oh no. At this point, whatever. Get quality stuff while you can. So not only that. Another thing that you want to take into consideration is that once you have a boot that you have decided that you like, this is the boot for you, this is the one that you want, I would start going down the rabbit hole of prepping, and have a spare pair of boots on the side, break them in, let them sit. Because shit hits the fan, end of the world, whatever happens, let's say that, the grid goes down, or hell, let's say the economy just gets so bad that, you're just struggling to find food. That is gonna be something that you really want, is a spare pair of boots. Because once these finally do go out, once they run out, once the soles are absolutely schwacked, once you start getting holes in them, you are going to get diminishing returns. So I would recommend having a spare pair of boots. Once again, for you guys that are baller on a budget, I understand that, buying a pair of boots in itself is expensive. And they are, right? Like boots are just straight up expensive. Money is expensive. But having a spare pair of boots, I would say, is absolutely an asset, and having something, you know, on the back burner that you can fall back to is going to be a great thing to have. Now, if you have made it to this far into the video, what I want you guys to do is go into the comment section, and if you have any experience whatsoever with hiking, with training, with rucking, what have you, let us know what your favorite pair of boots are. I guarantee there's no way that I can name every quality pair of boot out there. I would probably, this video would probably be, you know, like a multi-hour series at that point. And then that multi-hour series would be just me listing off names. But whatever boots that you guys are running, whatever boots that you guys have had good experience with, go ahead, throw that down in the comment section, let me know. And once again, I am going to do my best to try and give more knowledge when it comes to clothing gear, backpacks, accessories. I'm going to start doing more videos like this, just trying to get, you know, the knowledge and experience that I have for you guys that are just starting out. Or, you know, maybe you have nothing better going on and you just want to listen to, you know, the soothing sound of my voice. All right, so I can't think of anything else that I would like to say right here. I bet that I missed something. Just thought of it. Foot powder. Foot powder is huge. I highly recommend having foot powder inside your backpack at all times. Gold Bond is my go-to. I bet you that there's other brands out there. I have found that the foot powder that you get from the dollar store, that cheap stuff, it does work, but it's really just not the best. Trying to get that foot powder with vitamin E in it, because vitamin E is specifically designed for your skin. And I found that the foot powder with vitamin E is absolutely the best on the market. Once again, just in my experience, I always have a small Gold Bond canister in a Ziploc bag, in a Ziploc bag, in a Ziploc bag. I don't know how many times I've opened up my pack and it's just white dust. It's just like, cool, 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 awesome, cool. Put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in a Ziploc bag. Just take it, Ziploc bag, put it in there and you close it, and then hell, even have another Ziploc bag. Just put it, just Ziploc, that grocery bag, trash bag, just, you want foot powder, put it in something, please. Learn from my mistakes. Okay, once again, I have nothing else for you guys. This has been a fun video. I really like talking about this stuff. I love talking about gear. And I have nothing else for you guys. Appreciate the hell out of you. Once again, I have a website. I have a Patreon. You can follow me on Twitter, Telegram. I'm going to get back on Instagram eventually. Links will all be down in the description. Appreciate the hell out of you guys. Rifle and Mountain, ape together and strong. And go outside and train. ATS.